we talked about that. First of all, thank you for coming out here.
Of course.
I know you drove a long way to get here, and I appreciate that. But I wanted to start off, and I was told to go ahead and let you know that
I'm scared. I am scared.
Don't be scared. I was actually told to just let you know that I'm not going to.
Don't even say. I know where you're going with this.
I'm not going to fall over and have a heart attack.
Bill.
I got to hear the story.
Bill.
That's what I was told to tell you.
Do you know the story?
I know a little bit about it.
Oh, man. Okay.
So you got to give a little background about who you are and how you got in this position.
Okay. So, well, I am Brooke Bailey Abner.
Brooke Bailey Abner.
Yes.
Cool.
I'm from Cadiz, Kentucky. I lived in Nashville for 7 years because I was cheering with the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Bill and Stacy that you have had on this podcast before, and told you the beginning of a story that I'll get to. And now I'm back in Cadiz and have some businesses and just living
the dream,
just
right?
living.
So this story is there's some pretty funny stuff, right?
Oh, man.
Actually, it's kind of unbelievable from what I understand.
It was actually insane. Bill and I. So let me rewind.
Yeah,
so
rewind
you know
Back it
what.
up.
Okay, so when I was cheering for the Titans, I was only 19 when I first started cheering. So I auditioned. I met Bill, so he can do my hair and make me beautiful.
Yeah.
And I worked for, at the time, through the Titans. Well, I got the job through the Titans, Albert Haynesworth's radio show. And the guy who had asked me, hey, we need someone at the Cool Springs Mall to be live in the crowd. Do you mind being that girl, asking, take the mic around, asking people questions, having them ask questions to this live radio show? And I was like, sure, cool. Awesome opportunity, something other than just going to Titans practice,
Yeah.
So that same guy that asked me to do that said, I have this friend who's in my building where my office is, who's a photographer. Would you he's looking for girls to do, just build his portfolio, whatnot. And I'm like, okay, cool. Wasn't really, I think if someone came up to me and said that right now in my later adult years, I'd be like, let me see their portfolio, obviously.
Yeah.
But at 19,
You're like, whatever.
you're like, hey, let's do it. So I called Bill and I said, hey, got this opportunity. I need you to come do my hair. I'll bring, my whole wardrobe. So we're upstairs in this office building that's got a photography studio in it. And when we walk in, all the girls on the walls are naked. And I'm like, well, this is different. Especially at 19, you're like, what's happening? And of course I wasn't a Playboy model, so that was not the vibe that I came with. That's not the wardrobe I chose to come get my
Not something you expect from a girl from Cadiz.
Yeah. And I was just, number one, just mind blown. And Bill was like, And I was like, yeah. So I start getting ready, have on regular clothes. I mean, I'm in just a cute pants and top, and the top was a little bit revealing as far as cleavage goes. Not that big of a deal, whatever. It wasn't like I was showing anything that my Titans uniform didn't show. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
And so I am in front of the camera. The guy seems a little, it was him and his assistant, and I was just like, he's cool, whatever. He didn't seem off by any means. And then all of a sudden, we change clothes and we come back and he's on the floor taking the picture, kind of laid down. And he starts having a full-blown seizure, foaming at the mouth. And Bill's like, what's happening? And I'm also like, I'm 19. I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening. And his assistant's like, don't call 911.
What?
What? Exactly. Don't call 911. And Bill's like, but he's dying. We're watching a man on the floor die. And the girl's like, don't call 911. And like, I thought there was like something weird going on between the assistant and the photographer anyways. I was like, this is bizarre. So his wife shows up. She calls the wife. And he was ODing, basically, is what happened.
Oh my gosh.
And they had been apparently doing drugs while I was changing clothes. And Bill thinks it's hilarious. He was like, your cleavage killed the guy. And I'm like, Bill, really? Come on. So it's this ongoing joke that I made this guy have this seizure in the middle of the floor while he's taking pictures of me. And so obviously the photo shoot ended. Never saw any of the photos
of course
at
not.
all. We were left at his studio by ourselves because his wife comes and is like, don't call the paramedics or anything, and just like puts him in her car. No idea what happened to him afterwards. Haven't heard. I can't even remember his name at this point. And Bill and I have, like, we've had a lot of experiences together, and that's just one of them. We actually have tons of experiences together that are insane. He went to Vegas for my 21st birthday, Bill.
Wait, did he take you there?
No, he just went. I had a group of people going, and Bill was one of them. He just joined along.
That sounds like Bill.
Yeah.
I don't know if he does a lot of that stuff anymore, but I know like back in the day, he was like, you know, he'd hop on a plane, fly to LA, go to Vegas.
Oh yeah.
He was always doing those shows out there too. So yeah, that guy probably had a ton of drugs in his studio, and they just definitely didn't want the cops in there.
100%. So lesson learned.
As you've gotten more seasoned in your career, did you have any more experiences like that, or were you more cautious after that one?
After that, I was like, no more portfolio building.
No more portfolio building?
unless I know the person and know their work. Like, I'm not just going into...
Yeah. You didn't have like an agent or a manager, right? Like you just...
Stacy, Camp Kinder.
Oh, that was it?
I'm just kidding.
Is that Camp Kinder before Camp Kinder? Isn't there actually a legit Camp Kinder now?
Camp Kinder is Stacy and Gary's lifestyle.
Is that what that is? They've got a business though called Kinder Sport. So
yes.
That's different. Okay.
That's different. We just call her House Camp Kinder because
Kinder.
That's how they live.
I've seen pictures of like y'all, like it seems like there's a party all the time.
A party?
Seems like it. Yeah, like you're out having a good time.
Well, yeah, of course we're having a good time.
That's awesome. Yeah. Tell me about Camp Kinder a little bit. Because y'all do the same stuff. Like you're all in real estate and like.
Well, we just call it Camp Kinder because it's just like her expectations.
Okay.
And
she seems to have some expectations.
She has a lot of expectations, and when I was 19, I didn't appreciate them as much as I do now.
How so?
Well, because I was fresh out of high school. She changed my life for the better, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I got you more focused, or
she just taught you
to
about real life.
New world.
That too. That whole new world, real life. She teaches you personal responsibility.
She was big on accountability.
She was
big on that.
Oh yeah.
We talked about that a lot.
Yeah, it bleeds into my life every day now, and I'm big on accountability because of her.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Do you have kids?
No.
No kids?
No
Just
kids.
You and your husband?
Yep.
Okay. So, but you teach a lot of kids.
Yes.
So tell me about your dance studio. Is it a studio? Because you called it a facility earlier. In my head, a dance and gymnastics facility is a warehouse full of all kinds of fun stuff. And the dance studio is like this little hole in the wall that's just got like a ballet bar and mirrors.
Oh, yeah, no. So I have an actual 3-room studio and a full gymnastics gym.
Yeah.
In my building. So I started that in my
So you're a gymnast too?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I grew up doing gymnastics, competitive gymnastics, and dance.
Okay.
And my mom owned a studio.
In Cadiz?
In Cadiz,
okay.
Yes. And then she expanded to Hopkinsville. And then as I was finishing up Titans, like in my last few years of Titans, she sold her building and got out of the business. And I was like, oh, what are these kids going to do now? There wasn't really anywhere for them to go at the time. I was like, I think I'm going to move back home and open up my own deal. So I kind of was built for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because everyone in my family was an entrepreneur, and I didn't even realize it until later in life. because everyone in my family, my dad owned a lumber company with his family.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather on my mom's dad owned a steel construction company. My mom owned a dance studio. My grandmother did hair in her house. You know, like, so everybody looking back now, I'm like, oh, I was born for this.
My
like,
grandmother was a postmaster.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's actually an interesting story, but she was the postmistress, I guess is the term.
The mistress
of Lowe's, Kentucky.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good benefits.
I guess. It was in her yard. Like the post office was in her yard.
What?
Well, it's a small post office. It was just like, I mean, it was, you know, probably from here to that door, you know, it wasn't very big. But like people would come get their mail, you know, they would drive up to her house. It was, at the time, I think it was so rural in the town that like you didn't have like a post box on your yard like most people do, you know, mailbox in your yard. So people would come to the post office and just pick up their packages and their mail. They had like little post mail. But yeah, it was in her yard.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's actually cool too, because like, well, technically it was my granddad's originally. He was the postmaster. And
okay.
He got it from his mother, I think, because his mother, when the Democrats were in office in the town, it was called, I think it was Democrats, it's called Dollar. And then when this other family, the Lowe family, was in office, it was called Lowe's. And I think at the time when the census first came through, they were like, hey, if you tell them that the name of this town is Lowe's, we'll give you this job, because she had like all these kids and was like needing work. And so they gave her this job as the postmaster. She had to take like a test, but she became the postmistress. This is my great grandmother. And then she passed it on to him. And he was sort of like, he had a day job, so he couldn't do both. And eventually like he just kind of dumped it off on my grandmother, and she took it. She had to take the test too, and then she became the postmaster. And it just like stuck in the family for a while. But yeah, that's about the most exciting thing we do.
Whatever.
On the other side of my
That's not
family's a
true.
bunch of rednecks. So
There's nothing wrong with that.
no, it's true. It's true. I guess they're not really rednecks. They're just like hillbillies. They made mandolins and stuff though.
There you
There
go.
we go.
There
Didn't
you
pass that on to me though. So anyway, your dance studio is.
Yes. So
How you been doing that now?
My first recital was 2011.
Really?
And I took over the Cadiz location of my mom's studio as well. So she had 2 locations, sold one of the buildings. I moved back, opened mine in Hopkinsville. Then 2 years later, I took over the Cadiz location as well.
So you have 2?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So Cadiz and Hopkinsville.
Or like not far apart.
No, not far apart. About 35 minutes from each other. And it's good. I have competitive gymnastics, competitive dance. I have recreational classes for all ages, 3 to 18. And we do a Nutcracker production that we just finished.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. And
My niece just did that.
yeah.
She's 10. She just did Nutcracker, I think. She came down to T-Pack and did it.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a question.
Okay.
Do you have any future Titans cheerleaders in your squad now?
Actually.
Or I mean, you're putting out competitive gymnasts, putting out competitive dance. I mean, what do you got?
So, funny enough,
are you a talent farm? Out
I
there?
am.
Oh, right.
I have a dancer right now dancing for the Miami Heat.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Cool.
She graduated. She's only 18. Graduated, went and auditioned, and
She just said, I'm going to Miami and trying out
made
for
the
this
Miami
squad.
Heat team.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. So, and
You got a picture of her on your wall when you walked in?
I should have. No, I did go to her the first time she danced, though. I went to her game. And then there's also another girl that dances at Alvin Ailey in New York right now. She's at the Alvin Ailey professional
2 different
dance
styles of dancing.
Yes. Yes, and she's loving it. And I just got back from New York not too long ago, and I went to watch her in her first show that she had auditioned for in the company. And so she's just like in the schooling right now.
Yeah.
And she's just loving it.
That's something like you don't think about, but there's my niece she's tall. Like she's going to be tall. And like her brother's 2 years older than her. And she's taller than my mom now. I mean, she's almost like 5'7", and she's like 10, 11 years old. And
she can be a rocket.
she could be. She's going to be like tall and really skinny.
Yeah.
You know, and she doesn't like, she's not interested in sports. She's not interested in volleyball or basketball. She, you know, in Kentucky, we do basketball. But she loves it. She loves dance. Go Cats. You know? Except right now, I can't stand them. That's a whole other thing we could talk about. No, I think she's going to do the ballet route. She loves it.
Good.
She wants to do a solo, but it's because she's so emotional. It's like she gets really hard on herself, and then she gets upset, and then she kind of goes into this whole thing. They're not ready for her to. And the good that her coaches are like, all right, look, you're not ready for this yet. But
right.
Let's do a duet. Yeah. Where you work with somebody else, and then if she gets good enough at that, and she can handle the pressure of being on a solo, she really wants to do it. That's a goal.
Have tough skin in the dance world.
That's what I've heard.
Yes.
Because it's not like it's kind to you, especially in like the ballet world.
It's a rough one sometimes, but it makes you tough.
Have you had some horror stories?
Not horror stories.
Like I had a basketball coach tell me one time I should have never played basketball.
I don't have horror stories. I took it with a grain of salt, I think, and just rolled. Because if it was what I wanted to do, I mean, at the time that I would have been like at Camp Kinder.
It helped a lot, right?
It does help a lot because I'm not fazed really by
anything.
A lot.
That's what Bill says. You're not shy. You can do like whatever. Let's just go do it.
I'm like, okay, let's.
Never had to worry, like you don't have any fears?
Not that I don't have fears, but I mean.
No.
Nothing that's like debilitating, I guess. I don't really have any.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. What's the one thing like you try to overcome every day?
Every day? I think that I just made a decision to just wake up and be like, let's do what you have to do to move forward. Yeah. Never move back. Okay. Got to keep moving forward, regardless of what's going on. If you're having a good day, you're still getting up, and you get to decide how the day is going to go. You know? Like, I decide that when I wake up. Today's going to be a great day, regardless of what happens.
Really?
Yes. Self-actualization, self-motivation.
Did you get that at Camp Kinder, too?
I did.
Really?
Probably.
Well, I'm going to talk about that, though, but what's the benefit of,
it's nice.
When you were 19 and you're in this professional world, which is, it's kind of odd. Like people are like, you're in this professional sport. You know, it's not a high paying gig, you know, but it's cool. It's really cool. Really good exposure.
A lot of opportunities.
You move from little old Cadiz to Nashville.
Right.
You know, what was that experience like? And then you get to meet somebody like Stacey who basically takes you under her wing and says, look, this is how it's going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough that my mom took me with dance and gymnastics and everything, and my grandmother had a big part of my life growing up, and they exposed me to different things, not just the Cadiz life. We traveled a lot. I went to dance stuff all over the United States. I went to gymnastic stuff all over the United States. So I was well traveled. But I had never been in a situation where everyone that you audition with could belong there. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Like I had never walked into a dance audition where I wasn't like, oh, I got this. Ever. Because you don't really, back then you weren't really auditioning for things like with social media and everything, people have more opportunities because they can see it and they're like, oh, I want to go do that. So I found the Titans audition online while I was at Murray State. I had gone to college for a year and I was sad because I wasn't dancing, and there was nothing dance wise that I could really do at Murray State. I tried and I was like, this is not it. So I was searching for that dance world, and Titans just happened to come up on this website that I was browsing auditions. And I was like, I think I'm going to go do this. I knew nothing about it. I didn't even have a football team at my high school because I went to private school. I knew nothing about NFL, nothing. And I was like, well, this is just a good dance opportunity. It's really close. I called my mom and I was like, hey, so I want to dance. My first option was I want to move to Texas and be in this dance crew. And she was like, I don't know. My mom was a very straight shooter too, so I mean, she still is, but when I was growing up, she would just tell me the truth, and it is what it is, and which is great. And I went to Titan's workshop, and I was like, oh, I have to I have to figure out how to look the way that they want me to look. I have to figure out what they're looking for. And when I made the team, I was there were 3 of us that were under 21. And we were all 19, I think at the time, or turning 19. And I made it when I was still 18, and I turned 19 right before season started. And so we were all like the babies of the team. And I had never experienced anything like, it's never, not that I hadn't experienced like someone like being constructive and like wanting the best for you, even when you didn't want it for yourself. But Stacey like has a way of like, she just wants to like cultivate greatness. And if she sees it in you, then game on, because she is not holding back. Like, she is going to push you until you believe it yourself. And I'm like, yes. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm in this situation. I'm terrified. Like, my rookie year, I'm like, didn't talk. Like, I hardly spoke. I just followed the rules. Whatever the rules are, I'm here to follow. Like, I honestly, with the girls, like the captains, no matter what, I was just like, okay, I get my place. I know my place right now. And then as time went on, Stacey and I butted heads because I have a very bold personality.
Wow.
And
we never would pick that up.
she also has a bold personality, but now we're like best friends, which is so funny because back then I would have never been like, oh, Stacey and I are going to be such good friends later in life. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, she wants to make my life hell right now. But she didn't. She wanted me to see my potential and wanted me to be successful, and not just at Titans. She was trying to prepare me for what's happening right now, and she did it.
It's funny you don't see that back in the day, you know. Hindsight's 2020, but
I know.
That's great, man. It's great to have a good mentor that pushes you into that direction that, you know, you can't see yet.
Right.
Know, especially when you're like 19. Were you still doing college at the time, like going to school?
Yeah. I ended up transferring and just going online. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But you still had to finish your degree.
Well, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? No.
That entrepreneurial spirit
just took over.
Was like, nah, I guess this is not it. I was like, why am I paying? Well, I was taking classes, and then I was like, why am I paying for this? I mean, not that there is anything against college. If that's your route and you need to get that degree to further your career, I am on board. But I was like, I didn't want the degree. I didn't care about the degree, to be honest.
You were in this big world.
I was in the Titans world, and my parents were like, what are you doing? I like have a random job in retail, you know, and I was still teaching dance for my mom at the time and driving back and forth. And I was lucky enough to have a family that was like, okay, let's figure it out together. Like, they weren't like, oh my gosh, we're cutting you off because you don't know exactly what you want to do and you're 19, which is super generous and nice, because when you're 19, things change in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
To get to determine what you actually want to do, and then they change again in the next 5 years.
Well, they say that you change a lot from the time you're 14 to the time you're 18, and they say from the time you're 18 to you're 22, you exponentially change.
Oh, 100%. Learn how to be an adult.
Well, especially if you go off to college and to big cities, and you really are exposed to so much more, especially if you're coming from the small town like you did. You know, it's like you're just like what your brain is exposed. That's why they don't let you. That's why they say they don't want you to drink till you're 21, because your brain doesn't develop until that around that time. So,
fun fact: I've never had a drink of alcohol.
That's what I heard. You're teetotal. That's like my brother. My brother's like that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Bill said you were the straight and narrow.
Yep. No.
I think
alcohol.
you're picking your lane though. Like your cavalierness is in other ways. Well,
True.
there you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
I just decided not to drink, and then here we are.
Yeah, my brother like one day was like real frustrated, and he was like, "I'm gonna start drinking." I was like, "No, you're not." He's like, "Why?" I was like, "Cause it ain't fun. It ain't gonna be fun. You're not gonna like it, and there's no point in doing it.
Yeah.
Just stay where you are. You know."
Yeah.
Bill told me that.
Yeah.
Word gets around, man.
Apparently, you already know all the things.
I asked a couple of questions. Well, I was curious. I was like, well, because Stacy is the one that made the recommendation, but I knew Bill knew you as well. So I was like, all right, tell me about Brooke. And I talked to Bill more than I talked to Stacy.
Right.
I've known Bill for probably 20 years. And, I was like, what can I expect? He goes, look, this girl's a fireball. That's what he said. I was like, okay. He's like, she's the type of person who will say, hey, if you want to go somewhere, let's just go and do it. You're like,
oh yeah, I'm down. I know my friends.
Yeah, that's what he said. You're always down to go do something.
My friends always think it's funny, which I don't have any kids, and everybody else my age pretty much has kids. So they'll be like, this is Brooke, and it'll be a meme that's like, do you want to go to Egypt tomorrow?
Did they have that floating around your text groups?
And I'm like, accurate. That's me.
You could go, though.
I'll go.
When I was okay, I've got, you said you didn't finish. I have 3 degrees, right? When I was doing my last one, it's my MFA in film. And I remember I was in the dean's office of that college. I was we were just going over something. It wasn't like I was in trouble. At least that time I wasn't. And he goes, hey, I got to ask you a question. I was like, okay. He goes, we do the Olympics every year. And I was like, he goes, this year they're doing the Summer Youth Games in China. He goes, do you want to go to China? And I went, yes.
Right. Yeah,
but literally there
100%.
was this whole moment of like, I don't want to go to China. There was like this whole went through my head. But what came out of my mouth was, yeah, I'll go. Because for some reason I thought, I'm never going to get this opportunity again, ever, and it was interesting. I don't think I ever want to go back. The only thing I would ever want to go back to China for was to see the Great Wall. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to see it while it was there. It was just like a 18-hour train ride. And we were just like, we didn't have time for that.
Yeah.
Because you only got like 1 day off from working. And I wasn't going to spend it on a train going up to going, that's a great wall. And then come right back,
What a great wall. No, yeah.
So I can look at it in pictures.
But do you like to travel?
Yeah.
Oh,
I just don't get to do it as much as I like to.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know.
I love
That's
going.
another thing with Titans. I had never truly traveled until I did Titans. Traveled like my first, I went to Pro Bowl in 2012 for the Titans.
Yeah.
And I got offered a military tour right after to Guam. And I was like, cool, yes, 100%, I'm down. So I went to Hawaii for a week, did my Pro Bowl thing, and then left Hawaii and went to Guam. And then the next year I got asked to go to Japan. Mm. And I was like, yes.
What's been your favorite place?
Well, and that leads me to the fact that I'm going to Australia next week.
Whoa.
For the same company that I was doing military tours for when I was a cheerleader, because I was on tour with the owner of Pro Tour Productions, is who I work for once a year during Super Bowl week, because we go to overseas bases.
I don't know where I heard that. Maybe Bill told me that you did that.
Yeah.
You go and do the USO tour. Is that what it is?
It's not USO. It's different than USO. Though. It's a similar concept, yes.
Yeah.
This is Pro Tour Productions and Armed Forces Entertainment. So
big shout out to Maddie's vet.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so we do the military tours, and it's incredible. And that kind of sparked my travel interest, because learning about the cultures was so crazy. And I realized learning about other people's cultures makes you understand people so much more.
Yeah.
And then your mind is available to be a better human.
I used to always think about when you grow up, you're in this little small world, and then you maybe move to Nashville and your world gets a little bit bigger.
Right.
Right. Of course, when you go around the globe, it's like, oh my gosh,
you understand
China is the most foreign
things.
place I can think of. All right. Maybe except some Middle East countries or something, but China is completely
Middle East is
crazy.
different.
Yeah. And, the air was bad. The food was bad. Couldn't speak the language for nothing. It's not even close. Right. And I was sort
bad?
of Oh my! I didn't. Yeah, that's terrible.
Wait, what's your palate like?
That's not great.
I'm like, wait.
Look, listen, my dad was the pickiest eater on the planet. My mom was the worst cook. So I can tell you, my palate isn't awesome. But there was things, if I couldn't identify it in China, I wasn't going to eat it. Because they don't have health codes over there.
Oh yeah. I know.
So I was just like, I was a vegetarian while I was in China.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't just trying stuff. I have a weird stomach, so I was like, I'm definitely not. But once I got past the bad food and the bad air and like not speaking the language, like it was really, really cool. It was like there was some really cool things. Of course, also, and I'd walk, to a train station, or I'd walk down the street and I'd have like 5-6 people run up to me. Hey, want to get a picture with me because I was so tall. They never seen a tall guy like me before.
Yeah.
I don't know if they thought I was a celebrity because I definitely wasn't, but like you
wore that down.
I was big in China.
Yeah, I'm big in China.
I put that on my resume.
Yeah, you should.
Anyway, but
it opens your mind, right?
It does.
It opens your mind to understanding
people think differently.
People grow up different than you grow up. People experience different things on a daily than you experience. It makes you understand where people come from a little bit better, and that the things that you hear on the news aren't always true. It's just they pick out the worst thing that you could ever hear about that set of people and
true story
exploit it. And that's when, from those tours, I mean, I literally, it kind of like sparked the flame for the travel for me. Yeah.
Is that what you do a lot, travel?
Yeah.
You guys travel a lot?
Yes.
Cool. You said you're going to Australia next?
Going to Australia.
First time?
No, this is my 4th time.
What?
Yes, this is my 4th tour to Australia.
Different cities?
No, we all, because our...
Same place?
Yeah, same place. Yeah. Okay. So I fly into Sydney, and yeah.
I mean, there's a base or something?
Yeah, there's a base in Alice Springs.
Nice.
So.
I want to go to New Zealand.
Oh, me too. I was actually trying to get my husband to fly over and maybe, like, meet me. And then the flight is, like, the long flight. I think that my long flight is 17 hours.
Ooh.
And
do you go to Hawaii and then go?
So this round, I'm going to Dallas and then flying straight to Sydney from Dallas.
Gotcha.
And then on the way home, I go from Sydney to LA. So
I actually flew when I went to China. I was living in Lexington at the time and went to Detroit, and then Detroit to Shanghai, and then Shanghai to Nanjing.
Yeah.
And that Detroit to Nanjing leg was like 27 hours.
I remember when I went to Singapore and I was like on the flight and I was like, it's never going to end. I like started like feeling like, okay.
Well, here's the thing about me, right? I don't know. Do you try? I don't know how you travel, if you're like first class all the way or whatever, but
No, I was not
like,
first class.
How do I get in this plane is all I cared about. Of course, I was in the back of the plane, and I'm like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
So I'm like scrunched in for 27 hours. Like,
were you doing laps around the aisles? Because
I would get up a lot.
Yeah.
On the way back, though, I had food poisoning. I got food poisoning my last day.
No wonder you don't like the food.
I got food poisoning my last day in China, so I was sick the whole last day I was there. I was sick the whole next day, which was pretty much the entirety. I had to spend the whole day in the Shanghai airport waiting for my flight. And then the 20-something hours back, I was sick. And then 2 days after that, I was sick. I was sick for like 4 or 5 days. Finally got over being sick at like 10:30 at night. And I was starving to death because I hadn't eaten in 4 days. And I went to the Waffle House and got an All-American, got the Grand Slam.
The All-American.
All-American. It was like the best meal I'd ever had in my life.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But yeah, no, it was brutal. That part was brutal. And I remember like they were like on the flight back, they had like chicken and fish dinners. And
you were like,
by the time they got to me, there wasn't any chicken left. So I was like, I'm not. You got to roll.
No
Can
fish.
I get like a piece of bread or something?
Yeah, no fish on the airplane.
It was pretty, and I couldn't sleep either.
Of course not, because you're a gazillion feet tall in a little bitty economy seat.
I think sometimes when I personally like to travel, I like to drive. I want to be driving. Mostly because if I want to get out of there, I want to get out of there. But
I mean, if you'll bite the bullet and go first class,
well, my niece is going to move to Hawaii because her husband's in the military.
Okay,
and he's being stationed
there.
Yep. So there's my excuse to go to Hawaii. So it's like, all right, I want to go to Hawaii and visit her with. I'll take my mom. And we'll
the
go
trick is to fly into LA and spend the night at the airport hotel and then fly from LA to Hawaii.
Is that right?
Yeah. My husband lived in Hawaii for 6 years.
Why is that?
Now,
why is that the trick?
Oh, why is that a trick?
Yeah.
I was like, why was he living in Hawaii? I'm like, well.
You can answer both of those questions.
Well, no, the trick, because you split it up, especially from here, because the flight to LA is
it's
still
like 4
pretty.
hours, yeah.
long. But the closest airport to Hawaii is
It's Los
LAX.
Angeles. Yeah.
So you might as well get to the closest airport and then.
And I could get in and out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's still 6 hours, 5.5 hours, or whatever it is. But if you spend the night, there's a really nice hotel right there. That's what I did the last time I went. And I was like, this is it. Just need an extra day just for a little stop in LA.
At least kind of crazy these days.
I also have 2 dancers living in LA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are they, I used to, when I lived in LA, I lived in I worked in North Hollywood, right in the middle of all the dance studios.
Yeah.
Debbie Reynolds, Millennium.
Yes.
What was the other one? It's where the Jabberwockies worked out of. Is that Millennium?
Probably.
Oh, they were all right there.
Yeah.
It was all right there. And that I worked at a martial arts school, which is called Extreme Martial Arts. So it incorporated gymnastics. And so in our studio, there was, the floor was a spring floor.
Oh, yeah.
So kids could trick. And then there was a trampoline, which is all the kids wanted to do. They wanted to kick karate. They wanted to jump on the trampoline. And we also had a tumble track in a foam pit. So that was kind of like, so there was acro classes, and there was trampoline class, and then there was karate classes.
Cool, yeah.
And I taught cage fitness.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yeah. Which I never done any kind of fighting, so I was just like, they just needed somebody to run the class.
Oh.
Yeah. Which was really cool, because like, what's her name? Robin Wright. Robin Wright. She was on House of Cards. You know watch House of Cards?
Wait, Robin the blonde?
From Forrest Gump. Ginny from Forrest Gump. You ever seen Forrest Gump?
Yes, I've seen Forrest Gump.
Yeah, she would come in there and take classes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was she the blonde on House of Cards? What's the...
Yeah, the blonde, the mom. Yeah, Robin Wright.
Okay, I didn't know
Used to
that's
be
what her
Sean
name
Penn's
was,
wife.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably just know her as Ginny from Forrest Gump.
No, I watched House of
There's
Cards.
also The Princess
I loved
Bride. I
that,
don't know if you ever saw that.
I didn't, actually. I'm not going to lie. I didn't see that, but I did watch House of Cards.
Yeah, it was like her kids took classes there.
Okay.
I mean, there were a lot of celebrities that came in.
Yeah,
so
of course.
It was a big thing. But I always like to say I got to train Darth Maul, because the actor that played Darth Maul in Star Wars would come in on the reg and take classes. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, that was always pretty cool.
That is cool.
There's some other actors in there too, but I'm not going to bore you with those names. I just don't care. I really don't care. That was an interesting time in my life. LA.
I bet.
Yeah. I get to see some stuff. You talk about being exposed to things. Like going to a big city like that. In LA, even though it's in the same country, it's a completely different planet. Like it's just the way people think. And not even just the idiots there. I'm talking just
in general.
Just the natural course, because it's very different from Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
Kentucky
Slightly.
Have you ever been in Eastern Kentucky?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Before. See, I went to college.
Are you talking about like Pikeville?
Yeah. I went to, I grew up in Mayfield, so that's Western Kentucky. Went to high school in Central Kentucky, and I went to college in Eastern Kentucky. And I spent 13 years of my life in Eastern Kentucky, so I've got a lot of love for it. So I'm not dogging it, just FYI. But I went to college in Barberville, Kentucky.
Okay.
Which is not Pikeville. Pikeville's even further in the mountains.
I've been to Pikeville.
Yeah?
Yeah.
For what?
My school's basketball team used to go up there and do a tournament.
What school did you go to?
University Heights Academy.
When you said you went to a private school in that county, I was like, you went to UH.
Yep.
Yeah, there was probably the Ollie Classic. Was up there.
Yeah.
I actually played up there in high school, even further than Pikeville. What was the name of that town? Oh man, it was like literally on the edge of West Virginia. It was the tip of Kentucky. The tip of
yeah.
Like it was like that's where it was. Elkhorn City. That's what it was called.
I've never been there.
They had sulfur water.
Oh.
One of the guys on our team wouldn't take a shower the whole time we were there.
It smelled like
awful.
Terrible.
Yeah. And we asked him, hey, what's there to do around here? He goes, well, that Dollar General's pretty cool. And I'm not kidding. That's literally what they said. They said, the Dollar General's cool. And we went played the game. It might have been the most dangerous environment I've ever been in my life. Like it was like the entire community was in this place.
Oh, yeah.
And
I feel like that's how Pikeville was. I mean, it's been years since I've been to Pikeville and had a basketball game, but.
Well, when I went to college, man, like I said, it's only like 2-3 hour difference between Bowling Green and Barberville. It was like a whole new world. Like it was like it was the first time I went to a bootlegger. I took my teammates to a bootlegger because my teammate was like, hey man, you got a car? I was like, no, but I can get one. He goes, why? He goes, go get it and meet us out the parking lot. So I went and got my buddy's car and like met my teammates out in the parking lot. They go out here, and we drive and we go out into these literally go up in the hills, right? And they did tell us when we first started school, they said, don't just wander off in these hills because there's, you know, marijuana farms and like bootleggers, and there's just don't go, you know. And
your friend gets someone's car and go to.
So we drive up into this holler, and there's this trailer, right? And I'm not kidding. The first thing that comes out, we roll up in there, and they don't recognize the car. So if they don't recognize the car, you're going to get greeted the way we got greeted, which was the first thing out the door was the working end of a shotgun.
Yep.
And then behind that shotgun was literally the short, fat lady with an, I'm not kidding, an achy breaky heart T-shirt on.
Oh my gosh, Billy Ray on the front.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 18. This is my 18-year-old experience. And of course, my teammate rolls the window down. She recognizes him. He's like, you know, like that, and she brings out a case of beer, and that was kind of like my first experience at a bootlegger.
You're like, oh man.
Yeah, because I didn't have that experience going before that.
Well, you know, whenever I was at Murray, it was dry.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't drink, but I always drove everyone, and so we have to go down south across to Paris.
Yeah.
And there was a liquor store that people could go to, and
yeah, we had.
And then we would go to Spiders. It was a really classy establishment down in. I don't even think it's
roadside joint.
Yeah, a little roadside joint.
I've heard about Paris.
Yeah. No.
My business partner here, could probably tell me more stories than I could, because he was in Mayfield, you know, and there was the leader bottoms up in the north, the Graves County McCracken line. That's where, because McCracken was wet, but Graves was dry too. So,
yeah.
Yeah. People always used to joke that Bourbon County was dry. Christian County was wet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know about that. I remember people coming to college. I never even heard of a dry county. What is a dry county? Like, they never even heard of it.
I know.
But all those counties in Eastern Kentucky were at the time, but most of them aren't anymore. A lot of the towns have all voted it because there's a lot of tax money in it. So.
Yeah, lots of tax money.
So there's not even I think Mayfield. Can you buy it in Mayfield now? Don't know. I have to ask.
You can buy in Cadiz, so surely you can buy in
Really?
Mayfield. Yeah.
Well, Cadiz has all those restaurants now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little interstate hub is built up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Harper House right there. It's good.
Yeah. Is that barbecue place?
Triplets is the barbecue place in Harper House.
Harper House. Yes. Yeah. It's like a big.
It's a big silo.
Yeah. Exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right there next to the radio station.
Yep.
Exactly. I know where you live.
Yes, you do.
Well, I mean, you can get off there and go that way to Mayfield, or you can drive up to what used to be the Purchase Parkway, and go that way.
Yeah.
Just depends on which way you want to go into Mayfield. But
yeah, I haven't been to Mayfield in a long time, I guess.
It's non-existent. I'm not kidding. Like, we went up. So Joey's parents still live there, and so after the tornado, we went up the next day. And first of all, I'd never seen anything like that. Like, the carnage that existed, like, that was like unbelievable. And then now when you go up there, it's literally like you kind of got to get your bearings because it looks there's nothing
flat.
There's just nothing.
Yeah, that's
no
sad.
Buildings. I mean, it's just street lights. You know, and they're still putting stuff back together, and I don't know if it'll ever recover because there's no economy there. You know, it hasn't been since the tobacco market crashed.
Sad.
Yeah. Well, that's Kentucky, y'all. If you're ever up that way, stop by, drop in, and support local.
Support local.
So you do some other things. Let me see what time it is here. We're good. Yeah, we're fine. You also, like you said, you're doing this Army thing, traveling with
Pro Tour, yeah.
Pro Tour. And then you also yearly help out with the turkey.
Oh, the turkey fry. The Tracey Lawrence.
Turkey fry.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this past year was my 15th year.
15 years?
Yeah, when he started.
Oh, wow. Did you just...
Camp Kinder.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Is it really where you got into that?
Yeah, like...
I got to get in Camp Kinder.
I know.
How do I get in? Do you have to
hey, if you want to volunteer, we will sign you up. Don't you worry.
Fire?
Yes.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah.
Come for.
I
was a big Tracey Lawrence fan growing up, so
200 turkeys this year.
I've seen it on the news.
Just our group.
I've seen it on the news.
Yeah, it's all.
That's the Nashville Mission.
Awesome event.
Is that where that's at? Nashville Mission?
No, this time it was at the fairgrounds.
The fairgrounds.
Yeah, so but it used to. Yeah, it got bigger, so they had to move it. It used to be in the parking lot at the Mission.
I stayed across from the Mission this past weekend in an apartment. Rental. And it was a crazy scene. There was like ambulances and police officers. Like first thing in the morning.
At the Mission.
I heard that they kind of do stuff to get in hospitals so they can get access to pain meds and stuff. I don't know.
The Mission, I don't know. It's one of the better organizations though because it's not government funded. It's privately funded. So you have to go through their program to be able to stay. You can't just like
show up,
hang out and do drugs and all the things and still stay there. You have to like go through a program. They're trying to get you ready to like be in the outside world again and successful.
You've been doing this for 15 years?
Yes.
And you got
Thanksgiving
involved?
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got involved because I did it as a cheerleader.
Okay.
And honestly, as a cheerleader, it was kind of like,
you kind of run the show now, don't you?
I am the pit boss of my pit whenever
really?
I go. Yeah, so I usually have like 10 turkey fryers that I'm in charge of.
I've never fried a turkey in my life.
I hadn't either until I started doing this.
I can hand out T-shirts or whatever.
No, I can teach you.
Oh, you can teach me how to fry turkey? Okay. It's not hard?
No.
I know you're not supposed to drop a frozen one in there.
Oh, absolutely not, because that oil will explode.
Well, they said that on the news this past year.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen them talk about it on the news. That's why I even know what it is. But then I think Bill told me you did that.
Yeah.
The turkey fry.
Yeah, it's a great event. But Stacy's on the board.
Oh, yeah.
Tracey Lawrence's foundation. Yeah, so it's the Mission Possible.
Yeah. And what's the proceeds just for?
It goes to just people in need in the community.
Okay.
They donate money and turkeys. So they donate the turkeys for the rescue mission, and they also hand out turkeys to other organizations that are like the same situation, like that are outside of the rescue mission. So they give out a bunch of money and a bunch of turkeys. I don't even remember what the number was this year, but my pit alone fried 200 turkeys.
How many do they fry overall?
I think there was like 1,500.
1,500 turkeys?
In one day.
And these are just volunteers that show up with turkeys?
It's awesome. Yes, there's just like all these people. And most of the people have been doing it like for years.
Really?
There's an electric company that usually sets up next to me, like they're usually in the pit next to me, and I helped them one year, and I think that they said this was their 10th year doing it whenever I saw them again. Because I never see them except on Turkey Friday, and I'm like, hey, what's up, and
Fry
it's
that turkey.
just, yeah.
So it's a lot of, not just like people, it's like companies and organizations.
Yeah, like companies like will sign up to like bring a group. We do our Titans alumni.
What's the vibe when you're in there, like for the day? Is it just sitting around hanging out, frying turkeys? You guys,
the vibe is for me was running around.
I'm sure for you, but I'm talking about for the average.
I had to check all the turkeys, make sure that they were cooked thoroughly.
Okay, everyone.
All the ones in my pit. It was my responsibility because when they take them from the fryer to the people that wrap them, they check it again. So if it's not right, you have to put them back in.
How long does it usually take to cook a turkey?
Oh, it depends the pounds. So all the turkeys are different poundage too because they're donated.
Right.
Or like there's these guys from Arkansas that donate all the turkeys.
Okay, so you don't have to bring your own turkey. Just they hook you up. No,
used to whenever they first started doing it, people could drop off turkeys to the mission for us to fry.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you could still do that, but now there's a group of guys in Arkansas that have a turkey farm, and they donate to this cause.
And the fryers are provided too?
Yes.
Okay.
That we have, and they save the fryers every year.
Of course.
And just
when
store
else do you use
them.
a turkey fryer?
I don't know, but I was just really frying a lot of turkeys. This year was a lot.
I don't think I've ever had a fried turkey, honestly.
You probably have, and you just didn't even know it was fried.
Probably didn't know it. Yeah.
Yeah. They're good.
Yeah, people are always.
I smell like a
fried turkey. Grease pit.
Grease pit when I leave there. Yeah.
You have a shirt that says Pit Boss?
I have a hat that's neon yellow that they gave me last year. It says Pit Boss.
All right. So this is not your first year as Pit Boss.
Oh no! Last year Stacy signed me up for that.
Like Stacy does get you in a lot of situations.
I know.
But you don't.
I love it though.
You don't have any issues though.
No.
No. Okay. Titans cheerleader. You run your own businesses. You do real estate too, right?
Yes, real estate. My husband and I.
Is it just in Nashville or is it in Kentucky as well?
Most of our real estate's in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what's the Kentucky real estate market like?
Right. It's still just pretty solid right now.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of inventory where we are, small town, no inventory.
No. Oh.
Rates kind of went down, so that's good.
Yeah. Leveled out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that the prices are going to go down much more because of the inventory situation where we are, but
they did make it.
Good.
They did say rent was going down in Nashville, but
really,
yeah, I don't know why. Other than people just stopped renting, and they put too many buildings up. I don't know.
That's interesting.
It is interesting.
Huh?
It is interesting because I'm like, how do I call my landlord and be like, yo, bro, we gotta renegotiate this rent. My rent's expensive. It's more expensive than this store.
Is it in Nashville though?
It's in Thompson Station. Yeah, so in 2020, like we looked at buying houses, and I was like me and my mom were gonna buy one together, and we were like, let's buy a house. And we looked at a bunch of houses, and we finally said, let's just wait.
Yeah.
And then, like 6 months later,
yeah,
everything went through the roof. Like it was.
You're like, dang it, shoulda.
Everything from like 300,000 to like 500,000, like overnight.
Like overnight. I know, it was crazy. We have, I'm on Lake Barkley, so that's like our prime real estate.
Of course you are. Really?
Yeah.
Man. So party up at y'all's house.
That's right.
That's
4th of July. That's the party
you got like a pontoon party.
I got a pontoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Redneck Riviera up there.
Redneck Riviera. Sure.
Y'all classy. Y'all the classy.
I don't know.
No.
Sometimes try to keep it classy.
God, I ain't been in Lake Barkley in years.
Yeah. But all of that property before COVID and all of the hike, it was like you could buy a nice house in the 300s. Nice. Yeah. Not anymore.
No.
It's crazy.
You didn't have any damage from the tornado? Because that like went just north of you.
Right. We were lucky. We had no damage.
Yeah. Because when I drove up, there was some damage close to Cadiz.
Like Eddy Creek.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then,
Princeton had damage.
You can literally see like this mile wide
I know. It was scary.
Yeah. But you were probably up there for that. Were you up there then?
When?
That night.
No, I was in Cabo. Because I remember being like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do if we come home and our house isn't there? Like, what in the world?
It just missed the lakes.
I know.
Just, I mean, you probably got a lot of debris.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't bad. Was not bad for us either time.
Well, it is kind of crazy, like how, like, just even like a few blocks in Mayfield, like
but we had friends in Princeton that their house was completely gone, like picked up while they were in the basement.
Oh no.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I saw some pretty
terrifying.
In Mayfield, there was some devastation I've never seen. Like the whole water tower just crumpled and fell. Like it was like somebody took it and went and put it back on the ground. It was crazy.
And then Clarksville just had that.
Clarksville, Hendersonville.
Yeah.
Tornadoes are kind of scary.
It is scary.
I had this guy I used to work out with in LA. He's like, man, I would much rather be in an earthquake than waiting on a tornado.
Waiting on a tornado is...
Because like earthquake just happens. Like,
and you're just like, whoa.
Oh, earthquake. Or it's like, whoa, like earthquake. But a tornado, like you've actually got some warning and you're like, you're just waiting for it to...
Then we have a house in Panama City and the Panama City just had a tornado.
Do you have a house in Panama City too?
Yeah.
How many houses you got? Man, jeez.
30.
You own 30 houses, but you don't live in all 30 of them.
No.
Yeah, you rent them out.
Yeah, they're all
or
rentals.
Sell rentals?
Yeah.
So that's your main business is rentals?
Yeah.
And you got that idea from Camp Kinder too, right?
No, actually, it's a funny story. My husband and I were on a trip and we were on a long flight and we started listening to Rich Dad Poor Dad.
I heard that story.
And he was like, I really think that, because he had just gotten into the real estate business and he was like, I really think that maybe we should start, buying some properties. And I was just like, and I listened to it and I was like, you're right. Like after I listened to that book, I was like, makes sense.
Did you start in Kentucky?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were going to try to do, I don't know if you know anything about the BRRRR method, if you're not really into like rental properties or anything like that, but the BRRRR method is a method where you buy the property, you rehab the property, you rent it, and then you refi it, and you take your cash out of it, and then you buy your next one. So you're never...
I don't know that story. Nobody told me that story.
So there's a book about it.
Yeah.
And we kind of started like that, and we started with a house and we just renovated it, and they appraised it at a higher, after it was renovated, it appraised higher, and we got renters in it, cashed out and bought another one.
Are banks still, like with refinancing, is that...
It's not good right now because the rate's so high, but if you can hold out, like if you were going to buy right now, you can always refi when the rate goes down. Or if you can lock in a
good rate. I think it's going to be past the election before. Or actually,
Have you ever bought a house before?
I have never owned a house.
Okay, well, you could qualify for an FHA.
That's the word on the street.
It is. There you go. I was just telling my friend
I really
last
was
night
like,
the
I was in
exact
the
same
mood.
thing.
I was like, man, it's just here recently. For me, like buying a house was always like
Means that you have to stay there.
Yes,
you don't want to stay.
Well, I'm
just
getting to a
kidding.
point now where
kidding.
I'm getting a little more domesticated.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like buying a house is like getting married. It's like you might as well just fly to the moon. You know, like that's just such a nebulous.
Wait,
time.
have you never been married?
Never been married. Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you.
No, don't. It's okay. Don't be mad at me.
I'm not mad at
It's not
you.
that I didn't want to. I actually spent a lot of time like being very selfish.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's
and
why I don't have kids right now.
I asked Stacey this question. Stacey, don't get mad at me. I was like, "Is having kids change your lifestyle?" She said, "I mean, without dropping to be, nope." And she's like, "Nope, I still do what I do." I was like, "Okay."
I know she always tells me, she was like, just have one. It's like an accessory. I'm like, I don't know. Not that I won't, but.
No, I just I've never. It was just like I probably had several opportunities. It just at times where I was just like, I'm not ready to be married.
Yeah.
Like it was.
If you know that about yourself, it's great. Because you're saving yourself a lot of money and a lot of trouble.
That's what everybody keeps telling me.
You're saving yourself a lot of money and a lot of trouble. For real.
But I think I'm a little more ready to settle down. Like, next step, buy a house.
He's an eligible bachelor now.
Watch out, everybody.
That's how we're going to spin this podcast.
Is that we're gonna spin it?
Yeah. We'll put you up for the Bachelor.
I wouldn't be on the. I wouldn't.
We
be
could do like the Spring Hill Bachelor.
Really?
Stacey would be on board. I can feel it.
I can hear it. And so would Bill.
And Bill. He would do your hair.
Bill is always trying to like pimp me out.
That's fantastic.
But usually it's to men.
Well, it depends on what you're into.
I'm not into men. No offense to anybody that is, but I'm like, I am 100% into women. And like Bill, I'm telling that every time. Bill, he had like this one guy came into the salon the other day and he was like, now watch out, Tommy's single. And that guy was like, stop trying to hook me up, Bill. And I said, guys, if I was into men, I'd be I'd be the luckiest guy in the world right now, but I'm just not into men.
How old are you?
Oh, I don't talk about that on the air.
Okay. I was trying to see if I had any.
I'm seasoned.
I'm seasoned. Any friends that fit the
We can talk about that afterwards.
Okay, perfect.
We can talk
He's
about
an eligible bachelor, but he doesn't want you to know how old he is.
No. I try to keep a little bit of my personal stuff to myself. So
Okay. Yeah. No personal questions for him.
I'm also trying to be mysterious.
Okay.
I don't think I'm such a goofball. I was a basketball player. So I was an athlete. I was one of the high school jock athletes. I actually got most athletic one year, and I was like, I don't even know how I got that.
I love that.
But I was in high school. That's what I was. I was a basketball player. Even in college, I was a basketball player. But in my heart, I was a goofball nerd. I like to draw, and if I knew that you could go to college drawing, I probably would have done that instead of basketball.
Oh, yeah, but basketball teaches you a lot.
Now, I'm going to tell you,
team sport.
100%. I would never trade my time on teams for nothing in the world. I love being on a part of the team.
You learn so much. That's what I try to teach my kids at the studio, too, especially my competitive ones.
You have a competitive team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're not playing around.
Believe it or not, I understand your world because my niece was into that all through high school.
And so I'm always telling them, I'm like, dance lessons are life lessons, number one. Because if you can communicate, if you can problem solve, if you can be a team player, if you can work hard, if you can be successful.
Yeah.
Period. This sets you up to have all of the tools to be successful after dance is over.
Yeah.
But you have to take that from it. And some people take it and some people don't. And that's just, it's the way of the world, obviously, but more people need to take it right now than ever in the world. I went on a rant yesterday about I was at a dance competition for 26 plus hours this weekend, and I was just like, not everybody is meant to be a jock. Not everyone is meant to be a dancer. Dance is for everyone, but competitive dance is not.
100%.
So.
Yeah, I've seen Bring It On.
Exactly. No, but we have like this weird blurred line right now in society of what everyone. I posted something that said, "Quit being amazed by basics." Because we live in a world where people are amazed by basic stuff that you shouldn't be amazed by. Like if it didn't, no, listen, not everything deserves an award. Sorry.
That's a Camp Kinder saying. That's the exact same thing Stacy said. No,
It's
you're
true.
right. I don't
Think about it. If you were playing basketball and you had worked your butt off and you knew you were the best player, and they were like, well, Eli hasn't played all season.
That's my nephew's name.
Is it? That's funny. That was just a random name I threw out. You know, Eli hasn't played all season. So instead of you playing, even though you're the best and you've worked the hardest and you're the most successful, we're going to set you on the bench because we need to give everyone a chance.
I got told that in high school.
That's ridiculous, and your coach should have been fired.
I was one of the only 2 people that went to college. We had 7 seniors, and me and my twin were the only 2 who went to college.
To play?
Yeah.
And they told you were going to sit on the bench?
Well, my coach
I'm like, they told you were going to sit on the bench?
He said, listen, you play better off the bench. We're going to start this guy, and he plays better when he starts. But he had 7 seniors. You don't put 5 people on the team. One of those guys was the point guard who was a junior. So only 4 out of the 7 seniors were going to start, and I was not one of them. In fact, I never started until my senior year of college because it took me 10 years of playing organized sports to actually understand what I was doing.
Well, and that's okay, but you own that, and you knew where your place was, and that's not what I think that
when
if you know...
When I did start, it wasn't because I was a top scorer or the top rebounder or whatever. It was because, honestly, I was probably the only person on the team that really, knew the plays, and I decided I was going to be good at what I was good at, which was getting other people open.
Right.
And a side effect of getting other people open, if the defense is smart, they'll guard that person better. Also opens you up too. So I would get these little, 15-foot shots, and I got really good at hitting what I could hit. So I did have the highest field goal percentage my senior year.
Yeah, see, but you used your position, what you knew you were good at. Yeah. You realized what your truest potential was, and then you used it to your advantage, and you went to college and played ball.
Yeah. And I like what you said, though. Don't be basic.
Quit being amazed by basics. It's true. I think
that's why I hang out with this crowd, because there's always some characters around here. We got a lot of characters. None of these people are basic. They're literally characters. And I like characters.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some substance. There has to be something.
See, I've got layers. I'm like a birthday cake,
Same.
And I'm really particular about how I unravel those layers, but at the same time, it's like there's people go, you did what? You do it. And I talk about all the jobs I've done. People go, you've done what? Like I worked at FAO Schwartz on 5th Avenue.
I was an illusionist assistant.
What? We have time
Speaking of weird things you've done.
An illusion, like sawed in half kind of stuff?
You know the restaurant downtown, House of Cards?
Yeah.
Okay, the guy that was the I don't know if he's still working there or not. The guy that was the entertainment for like the magicians and whatnot. When I went to, you haven't?
I mean, I've never done an illusionist assistant. I'm just saying it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it was.
That should be on your LinkedIn, by the way.
I guess it should. I don't ever update LinkedIn. Because if I'm looking for another job, there's a problem. I've got plenty of those that I started on my own.
So you were an illusionist assistant.
Yes. Stacy emailed me and was like, hey, this guy's looking for an assistant for his magic show. And I was like, okay. I was like, I guess I'll go talk to him. So I showed up at this like magic shop in the strip mall with this guy I'd never met before. Another one of my, I didn't know, Stacy knew him, so it was fine. And he was an awesome human being. His name's Jason Michaels, and he actually does shows downtown still. Mm-hmm. He has a really cool story. That's for a different time. But, yeah, I went, and he was like, I just need you to, his assistant had quit and had to do something else, and he was doing college tours where he had, like, on-the-road stuff. Mm-hmm. He was like, are you interested in doing this? I can teach you what you need to know, and then, like, your dance background can kind of just fill the transition space. And I was like, okay. Get to be on stage, get to get cut in half. Cool, I'm down. So I did. I traveled with him and his...
When you put it on your resume, make sure you put, I've been sawed in half.
Yeah.
16 times,
Yeah. It was fun.
That is pretty impressive.
But he was I hadn't seen him in a really long time, and I went to House of Cards when it first opened, and he was the director. And when I walked in, I was like, Jason?
Bro, what are you doing?
What is happening? And he was like, oh my gosh. And I was was like, I was his assistant. And like when you tell someone that, they're like, what? And I'm like, he used to cut me in half in the little handout thing. Like, I don't even know. They're like, how does it work? I'm like, I can't tell you. Can't tell you.
Couldn't tell you.
Can't tell
I don't know
you.
the secret. Oh, you
I
can't
can't tell.
I can't tell. Okay. All right. So,
Yeah.
man, listen, I want to wrap this up. That's some pretty cool stuff, man. I could probably talk to you for 2 more hours, just because I feel like you're like me. You've had like done a lot of things.
Yeah.
Experience,
Just a lot of random things.
but really haven't lived anywhere else. But
Yeah.
yeah. So just when you're out there, just know that good things can come from small towns like Cadiz, Kentucky. If you've never been to Cadiz, is that the place? There was a burger place there.
Farrell's?
Barrels. Went there first time back in October.
Oh, really?
First time I've ever been there.
It's been there for a gazillion
I know.
years.
We went to the Paducah-Tillman game, Mayfield game in Paducah.
Yeah.
On the way back, my buddy was like, let's stop at Farrell's. Like, where's Farrell's? He goes, it's in downtown Cadiz. It's literally downtown Cadiz. And pulled in there, roadside burger joint. First thing I do when I walk in, some dude walks up to me and goes, listen, man, if you were my boss, I would do whatever you said. I went, okay.
What?
Some farmer just walked up to me. That's what he said. He goes, if you were my boss.
You were at Farrell's?
Yeah.
There's a Farrell's in Hopkinsville, too, and one in Madisonville. Or there used to be.
This was in Cadiz.
It's Farrell's.
Yeah.
It used to be open 24 hours.
Yeah.
And now it's not anymore.
Yeah.
and-
People don't like to work.
Say it for the
It was a
people
good
in the
burger,
back.
though.
Say it for the people in the back.
We could talk about that all day, too.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. People do not like to work.
Yes, I know.
Or they want to work I want to work 2 hours on Monday and 3 hours on Friday, and that's it. No. I work 7 days a week.
I mean, I have a lot. It looks like I have a lot of free time because I'm like all over the place, but I'm like constantly on my phone, like doing something.
Yeah.
Right. Getting leases together, dealing with tenants,
Yeah.
calling someone because the car wash is not working like it's supposed to, calling someone because it's just like a constant
Yeah.
looking at dance costumes, signing
Don't you love every
registration
second of
stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's the fun part, but
Yeah. So what advice would you give to anybody out there, young people? What'd you tell them?
young people,
If
I
they're
think.
listening? Or anybody, not just young people. What'd you tell people?
For young people, I tell them that you don't have to decide right now what your future is because life changes. You're going to change. You have to set goals, work towards the goal, and then everything else will kind of work hard. Just be open to working hard. I actually said that to my dancers last week or the week before. I said, don't be scared of the hard work because the hard work is where the rewards come from. So if you worked hard for it, in the moment you may feel like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? But at the end, when you see the results, that's why you did it. And that's it for everyone. Like, quit being mediocre. Mediocrity, you didn't wake up to be mediocre. You weren't put here. Everyone has a skill. Everyone has something they can be good at. But it also takes, you have to have thick skin. You have to work hard. And you have to be okay with failing. Because then if you continue to try, eventually you'll succeed. It may not be in the same thing that you thought it was going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll succeed eventually if you continue to try. I don't know. That's the way that I live. And wake up with your happy pants on. That's what I tell my dancers. Put your happy pants on in the morning, and then that sets you up for a good day.
Well, let's end on that because I think that's a good advice.
That's right.
Brooke, thanks for coming. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
traveling all the way down to
Of
Spring Hill to hang
course.
out with me and talk. You don't do social media, do you?
Of course.
What's your social media then? For people want to follow you.
At Brooke Bailey 86 on Instagram.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Brooke Bailey 86 on Instagram.
That's right.
Yeah. And if you happen to be, in the Nashville area and on Thanksgiving, make sure you support
Yes,
the
please.
turkey fry. And
You have to sign up though ahead of time if you are interested in the Tracey Lawrence turkey fry Mission Possible. They look for volunteers, usually probably in October.
is there any way to
so.
support your pro what's it called?
Pro Tour Productions.
Yeah, is there-
You can follow along on our Instagram
Yeah, okay.
page, Pro Tour Productions. We actually, it's not my company, but my boss, her company has 11 tours going out.
Perfect.
So they're going to be all NFL players, cheerleaders, mascots will be all over the country and the world in the next few weeks for Super Bowl, supporting our military. So, yeah.
Lots to get involved with. All right,
That's
Brooke.
right.
I'm going to hop off here. And again, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.